I suppose, scattered around the country there's RNLI and Coast Guard units and so on. It must be a huge commitment that volunteers have to give for the RNLI.
Absolutely, and often it is unsung heroes and invisible heroes that we're talking about. Behind every lifeboat launch, there are show crew members, there are branch committees, there are our fundraising volunteers, and COVID-19 has presented a unique challenge to the RNLI, and with that, we've focused on protecting our people, our own volunteers, protecting our service provision, and uniquely as a charity, ensuring our sustainability into the future, which is a really hard thing to do. But I think the fortitude and the adaptability and the drive and determination of our supporters and our volunteers really does shine through in this. And there's some super examples of initiative and drive and determination to push through to see the institution's sustainability. I mean, we went COVID-19. We went from the first week of lockdown to a rather unique situation between the Irish Coast Guard, Irish Water Safety Ireland, RNLI, where I think in the history of the formation of marine emergency, formerly the Irish Marine Emergency Service, and then laterally Irish Coast Guard, we went a weekend with no incidents in the country. And then we have seen, as we moved into the summer period, we've seen a massive ramp up in activity, as whether it's because people were confined to their localities, and actually with fine weather, our beaches have been busy. So we've gone from a plateau of very little activity to really high levels of activity. And in amongst that, there are always tragedies. But I think it is equally important that we celebrate the successes. There were the paddleboarder rescue, which the Oliver family were involved in, an incredible sort of escape from tragedy. There was children on inflatable toys being blown out to sea, and an incident there in the Shannon Estuary, which Kilrush Lifeboat Station. And then just in the past couple of weeks, the Lily Bee rescue, which I'm 21 years supporting the volunteers of the RNLI in Ireland, and the Lily Bee rescue involving Rosslare, Dunmore East, and Kilmore Quay to the vessel off Hook Head. A really incredible piece of seamanship, and what people don't see, many of your listeners will have seen the video outtakes online. What people don't always see is just how close that vessel was to shore. But again, that service didn't happen without our coordinators in the Irish Coast Guard, without our own top cover from the rescue flights, and we are but one piece of a jigsaw. But I think from a community aspect, I think that what the RNLI's volunteers have achieved during COVID-19 is really quite incredible, and I'd like to pay testimony to them for achieving that.
I've asked some of the other guests actually in terms of training, and obviously training and development is a huge part of what every organisation does. Owen, is there any changes? Obviously there are changes, but what is the main changes in terms of when volunteers go onto a boat or go onto a rib or whatever? What changes have been put in place?
Yeah, well, initially, and again, by adapting our SOPs, we went, like every emergency service, went through the flurry of PPE provision and what the appropriate PPE for whatever task we are confronted with. And that in its own right, not just from a supply perspective, but also from an operating perspective, presents us with so many different challenges. the workhorses of our service are often our inshore lifeboats, and trying to wear a mask at 32 knots in an Atlantic 85 lifeboat crashing through the waves is not just the easiest thing. So we have to retain an adaptability, and our volunteers are doing that. So we've introduced new standard operating procedures to deal with COVID-19 in the way that we operate. But I think from a training and exercising perspective, that has been our greatest challenge. And it's as simple as this. If we look at each of the RNLI's lifeboat stations as an island, then as soon that island community, they move as one. And as soon as we bring any of those people together, then we run the risk of community transition of COVID-19. And if our volunteers have to isolate and be in isolation, we are dependent on a finite number of crew and volunteers to provide our service. And if we've got large numbers of those individuals in isolation, then we simply struggle to present our service. So keeping our people safe has been a real mantra, but with that, it's hindered us in our ability to exercise, and with that, our training. So our training teams, and in particular our assessor trainers, have been looking at unique ways, moving training and assessment to prioritized and online, new ways to keep our operational volunteers engaged. But ultimately, we want to get back to going afloat and doing that. We are doing it, but in a very controlled manner. But that is in order to maintain our service.
There's a good collaboration on between the RNLI and the Coast Guard itself. Generally, now I suppose people would think that they're all the one, but they work hand in hand.
Yeah, we're separate organisations, but our core ethos is shared, and I include Water Safety Ireland. These are water safety volunteers and staff who are looking to prevent people from drowning in whatever way. So I actually quite like the terminology. We're ostensibly dancing around the same handbag. We are different organisations, but we share the same drive, determination, and passion to prevent people and prevent loss of life through drowning.
Okay, and Owen, you do a huge amount of support work as well, not just with the RNLI, but National Services Day. But before you go, if people want to donate to the RNLI, where should they go to?
You can just hit online in the most basic form, go on rnli.org, and that will give you the signposts and the direction in so many different ways, to launch a memory, to individual appeals, to specific giving. And actually, it would be remiss of me as a staff member. I'm privileged as a staff member for the RNLI to not really raise that banner in this COVID-19 pandemic, to say the RNLI is a charity and we are reliant on the general public's support, and we are very, very grateful for that.
Okay, Owen Medland from the RNLI. Thanks very much indeed for joining us, Owen. I appreciate that.
You're most welcome, Declan.
The Blue Line on emergencytimes.ie. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Emergency Times.